On my channel, we talk all different kinds of markets. We talk about the dollar, currency pairs, gold, indices, commodities. We try and cover it all, both from a fundamental and a technical perspective. But today, we're going to be talking about a technical signal that just showed up on the S&P 500 and what it means not just for the S&P, but for all markets across the board. Let's talk about it. Okay, so first thing you need to know in terms of what the S&P 500, I know a lot of you guys may trade it, some of you may not trade it, but for those of you guys who don't trade the S&P 500, let me offer you something to think about with the S&P 500. It is pretty much the stock standard symbol of risk on or risk off in the markets. Let me elaborate what I mean by that. In a period of time where things are good in the world and optimistic, there's generally stock markets that are rising. And when things are more fearful and concerning, like in 2022, there is usually a big drop off in the stock market. And what better reflection of general market consensus than the most kind of key player in terms of the stock market world, that is the S&P 500, represents the top 500 companies in the United States. Well, I've been very, very clear that I have been incredibly bullish on the indices in recent times. However, I, with transparency, say that I've gotten it wrong as well. I've been pretty early thinking that we might have bottomed out over here. In fact, we did not. We went lower. So I haven't played this perfectly by any means. However, recently we've been very, very much right, meaning we saw that there was this downward trend. And inside of our VIP signals group, we pretty much have caught this move perfectly. Now, as I mentioned, I don't want to come across saying like this is my everyday reality to get a trade like this, where we're floating $11,600 on a single position. And by the way, if I go to my broker, I actually have two trades open, both the S&P 500. One is just VOO, and you can see it's a position that I added into more size to this trade. So between the two of them, this is a $13,000 position currently that is running. Now, again, I don't say that to brag because I was very much early before, but I offer this as two things. Number one, I want to talk about the signal that I'm going to tell you guys about what just happened, what just triggered on the S&P 500. But I also want to just make the point very quickly that even though I may have gotten it early on my NASDAQ and S&P bullishness calls this year, or I guess this recent year, most of the year I've been bullish and it's been really good, but recently I got it pretty wrong over here. Well, the point is, it doesn't matter if you're right or you're wrong. What matters at the end of the day is when you are right, if you make it count much more than when you're wrong. And so I would say that so far we've been able to do that pretty well with this recent position. Now, let's get on to the signal that I'm talking about. Now, whether you're a currency trader or you're a gold trader or you are a stock market trader or an index trader, whatever you trade, check this out. The S&P 500 just seemingly broke out of what was key resistance. This little color shift that I just did, I think is actually pretty meaningful. We had a big level of resistance. If you look left, price sold off hard, forming this downtrend where we got those lower highs and lower lows. But then when we broke out and I was able to catch this pullback entry, what we see now is something very interesting. You see price breaking through this area that was so bearish previously. And with my stop loss in place, my goal is to see if we want to keep running higher. Now, what is this signal? Well, let's take a look at the daily chart for a second on the S&P. And you can see that we did in fact close outside of the sell zone that we saw previously. What this shows from a technical perspective is a breakout. And this breakout is pretty important. Why? Well, remember, this is the risk on or risk off indicator in some ways, that is the S&P 500. So even if you don't trade it, it's still super important. Now, what does that signal for currency traders? Well, take a look at EURUSD. This risk on sentiment could carry over to things like the pound US dollar, to the euro US dollar. The reason I say that is because the dollar could be on the verge of seeing a longer term weakness factor. Why? Well, if risk sentiment is becoming more acceptable, meaning investors, traders alike, they're looking at the markets and they're saying, hey, things look less rocky than they did, you may see some serious reversals in the market. Now, I'm not talking about a quick, short-term blip. I'm talking about this downward trend that we've seen, like this massive downtrend of the euro due to USD strength, right? If that story falls apart and we start to see a little bit of risk sentiment come in, the euro might catch a bigger bid and they might catch a bigger trend to the upside. So to me right now, it does seem like we have many technical and fundamental signals that are generating perhaps time for a reversal on things like the euro USD and the pound US dollar as well. Now, again, it's a bit early to try and call this because reversals are inherently very difficult. But when I look at something very specifically like the euro against the US dollar, what I like here is that we've got a nice formation of a directional change. Now, again, let's highlight this downward trend first. It's no question that for quite some time, the euro has been in a pretty dang strong downward trend. But more recently, we've gotten this little movement here. We've got a little bit of a shift in the directional bias, it seems like. And with that said, when you drop it down to like a 4-hour chart, you have price sitting snug at a support level. Now, why hasn't it bounced stronger than this? I'll tell you, it's 3 letters in a row that matter a lot. CPI. That comes out on Tuesday, and I think that that's where the market is looking next for some sort of solid directional bias. But let me tell you right now, if we get cooling numbers in the inflationary department, meaning the Fed sees some serious progress on the inflation metric, which by the way is kind of what people are expecting. Analysts are thinking the inflation trend will continue to trend lower, which would be very good for risk appetite. So you'll see I keep coming back to that topic. The S&P 500 trading up. That's really great, obviously, not just for my trade, but also for risk appetite. People are getting a little bit more comfortable to the idea of moving into other markets than just, going into the US dollar and et cetera, right? Now, CPI comes out on Tuesday. It'll give us a little bit of a confirmation in that area. If you see cooling jobs numbers, I would say it's a very strong probability that the euro continues that new trend that it seems to be forming right now. Now, if you're somebody who's trading the S&P 500, as I am, there's no question that a cooling CPI number would very much help this new bullish trend that seems to want to try and go further. Now, let me just say also, by the way, guys, let me remind you that if you have not heard about this, we are currently doing a Black Friday sale where you can get access to our trading signals inside of our Discord channel. And if you've not heard about what our Discord channel is, it is basically a VIP service where you can get trading signals sent by myself and Frank. We are the 2 traders in here, and we have a team of people that basically offer what I think is probably the best service on the internet for traders who are trying to learn and trying to get an inside look at what traders are really doing and thinking before their trades. As you can see, when I share trades, these are live trades. There's no nonsense, no fake stuff, no demo accounts. I share my real P&L. I share my real trades all the time. And if that is something that would be beneficial to you to look over our shoulder and read along with why we're taking the trades, you'll notice I do analysis with each and every trade. Frank does the same. When we share trades, look at this. These are breakdowns to try and educate you as to why we are taking the trades. So between Frank and I, you get our Forex trades, indices trades, metals trades, stock trades. And again, Frank and I both share all of our positions. And him and I have been trading together for a number of years now. So currently, if you use the promo code that's down below in the description, you'll get access to all of our trades and our coaching webinars and educational section, all of that good stuff. If you've thought about it, if you've watched the channel for a while, and you've thought about this at all, this is the time to do it. It's the biggest discount of the year. Gets you 40% off the membership, which is highly, highly worth the money. I am very, very confident that if you join us, you will get more than your money's worth and you'll learn a ton. We do a ton of breakdowns. We do coaching webinars. Like I said, it is the service to be in. So if you've been thinking about it, come join us, come trade along with us, especially for CPI week. It is a wonderful time to do that. And again, the promo code will be down below in the description. Just type in YTVIP. That's YouTube VIP. You guys who subscribe to my channel, I very much appreciate your viewership. And as part of that, we'll give you a super big discount for Black Friday sale that's going on right now. So take advantage. Link and promo code down below in the description. So again, yeah, guys, that's the idea here with the S&P 500. I think we're signaling something, a potential change in the narrative. I think risk sentiment is growing, and I think that we see a nice end of the year rally. One of the big things that I pointed out with the S&P 500 was actually the seasonality chart. And I made this point at the beginning of the month to members, and I'll show you that just in a second, just to show you I'm not saying that and not meaning it. I'll pull up my my notification. Here's the S&P 500 right here. So pull the S&P 500, you can see we made the point that this is historically a very good time in stock market sentiment. And that's, of course, the S&P 500. And I shared that with members inside of the group. So you can see we shared this. This is going back to November 1st. Bright and early on November 1st, I shared this update that I planned to go long, and we've been very much riding the trend on that. And also, just to stay transparent with you guys, again, if you join a signal service, I think it's important to look at track records and past performance. Of course, it's not a guarantee of future results or anything like that. Trading is unpredictable and not a perfect, simple thing in the world, as you know, if you've traded for any amount of time. But this is my personal performance year to date. And that is my live brokerage statement. I'm up 21% this year, which all things considered, I'm very proud of, considering, other areas of the market have really struggled. Passive investing has been a really not great period of time. And so my point with showing you this is that by being active, being critical thinking with trading, you can really do quite well. And again, in terms of this performance, you can see we had a wonderful start to the year. This is the period where I really kind of struggled with my catching the right entries on some of my S&P and NASDAQ trades. And then we've really picked back up recently. And I if things continued to the way I think they will, we should see a nice continuation of this overall gain this year, which this is also conservative trading. I should add to this. I'm not out here looking to double my account or anything. I'm looking to trade slow and steady. I have a larger capital basis, and I'm not worried about making a ton of money quickly. I'm very much interested in conservative gains over time. If that's something that resonates with you, again, like I said, it is the time to join the VIP. Get in there, real stuff, real P&L, real track records, no nonsense. And if you want to learn with us, I highly recommend joining the group. And again, I make that sales pitch, but it is genuinely, I think you look around the FX community, the indices trading community, the commodity, there's so many people who have so much to say, but there are very few, and I very much also respect the people who do show their personal trading accounts, live logins, brokerage accounts, no MetaTrader nonsense, nothing like that, just real trading accounts. I very much respect people who do that, and so that's why I hold that same standard to myself. So I hope that you can appreciate that and understand. Obviously, it's not making millions per year just off the trading side, and I recognize that. If you're looking for that, I don't have that because I think most of that is nonsense anyways. But if you're looking to trade and be serious with it, highly recommend joining us. With that said, guys, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was useful. If you did find this helpful, please hit that thumbs up button on the video, and we'll see you next time.